pull this up.
Yep.
Okay, good. Okay, Chris, I'm going to give you a 3, 2, 1, and we'll go. 3, 2, 1. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our second week in our 4-part training series, Building Something Great Together. And tonight we are going to focus on the power of goal setting and making a plan. And we're going to get right into it because we have a lot to cover. So Pam, let's begin by reviewing our objectives for the 4-week training.
Right. Where have we been, right? Our objectives for our 4 weeks are to help each of us to improve our communication skills, especially as they relate to connecting and inviting. And we did a really nice job of going over the skills and where our mind needs to be and our heart needs to be as far as connecting with people and inviting others to join us as a member or even in the business. So if you haven't listened to week 1, go back and listen to that one because it was a good one. Number 2, we want to create a system for meeting new people and obtaining those customers, for servicing and educating customers about products and the benefits of the business, and identifying those business partners that we want so we can advance and rank ourselves. We're going to talk about that tonight, specifically goals and making a plan to help us get there for that number 2. And then number 3, we're going to help you generate 1,000 new PGV. And that's really important for all of us as we need to increase our PGV. We're going to show you exactly how to do it anytime you want.
Okay. You want to read the quote from Jack Canfield?
Oh, of course I will. When you scratch the surface, every one of us has something that we deeply want to contribute to the world. All we have to do is step up and do it. So I really do believe that we're all capable of doing great things. So we want to help you be at your very best. And whatever that is, it's going to be different for everyone, but we're here to support you in all of your goals.
Excellent. So our objectives then for week number 2 for today is setting goals and making a plan. And so our objective is that we all leave here understanding why goal setting is so critical for us to progress in our business and frankly in our lives, to understand how the mind works and to activate this really interesting mechanism in our brains that is for problem solving. It's fascinating when you hear this. And when we understand that, it'll explain why we either move toward our goals or away from them and back to our comfort zones. Then we will implement the practices of affirmations and visualization and understand what we do with our self-talk that either lifts us or doesn't, and to understand that creating a plan is crucial to making goals a reality. Otherwise, they're just kind of a wish, right? And then we're going to talk about that 1,000 PV plan and get into it today at the end of this call. So there we are, goals. Important.
Kasha is here, Barb. So if you want to go to the next slide.
We'll catch her. Yeah, we'll catch her at the close, I think, when we do the review. Well, maybe we could tuck her in right here.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. So can you unmute her? Hi, Kasha, are you there?
I can. Hold on one second.
Oh, okay. So last week, we were going to just do a quick review from last week, which
she's here.
Which we really wanted, we focused a lot on connecting and inviting. And afterwards, we had gotten some feedback from Kasha Zelishek. Are you there, Kasha?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, there you are. Okay, we missed you. So do you want to just take a minute and share what your takeaway was after the session last week?
Uh-oh. Sorry, I just froze, and yeah, I was frozen and didn't hear you. Can you repeat?
Yes. Just if you want, just take a minute and share with us what was your feelings and what was helpful for you after the session last week, because I think you were one of the first people who responded right after we got off the Zoom and was sharing sort of what was happening for you as a result of that information.
So I was so touched by the entire meeting that like really I felt like love coming from all of you. And it didn't even sound to me like a business meeting, like the meeting we are discussing how to make money. Everything that was discussed, it was like how to help people, how to love people, how to care for people. And it touched me deeply in my heart because I didn't even realize this is what I want to do in my life. So for the entire week, I was just reflecting on who I am and who I want to be for others. And I was finding in myself that, you know, when I discover I have so much to share with other people, and I want to motivate them to just, you know, have more healthy lives. And during my week, since like the last meeting, I was just more listening. I was more caring. I was more like hugging. I was more like smiling, even to strangers. And I was just so ready to just go and love people. That's it. You know, this is what I drew from the last that. And it just reflects with, you know, with who I am and who I want to be. So that's why it touched me so much, because it was not about making money, not about like, you know, like when I was in other company, like business meeting was a business meeting, you know, just go make money. And here it's all about love. And I just left the meeting, like wanted to just love people. That's it.
Oh, well, that's the best summary of last week. We was going to do anyway. That's terrific, because all of those skills that we discussed last week were the skills about what helps us to better connect with people, everything you just said. But to have somebody go out and put it into practice so quickly is really heartwarming. And so you can stay on the line for one more second, because I won't go through all the things that we discussed last week, but we would encourage you to listen to that one. It's an archive at betterfuture.training. And so you get a feel for what we talked about, because what Kasia was saying is every one of our connections, when we invite people, when we have conversations with them, the most important part of that is to share how we feel about what we do and why we are inviting them to whatever the thing is we're inviting them to. It's the why of it and not the what of it. Well said, Kasia. So let's go on to one other thing that we discussed last week. And Kasia, it sounds like you spent a little time on this as well, which was we asked people in the action steps the question that I just think it's a really tough question. It was a tough question for me when I took one of the first courses I took. Actually, it was a course in goal setting. And the question was, what do you want? And we were given a sheet of paper. It had 50 lines on it. And we were told in the next 3 minutes, we were to write down everything we want, 50 things that we wanted. And then he went, ready, set, go. And I was completely frozen. I didn't, that was so difficult for me. Every time I'd write something down, like, I guess I'd like a bigger house. And then I'd go, oh, but my house is fine. I like my, and everything I'd write down, I would talk myself out of. And this is a place where we really want to understand. It's important for us to acknowledge what we want, what is important to us in our lives. And I called some of our folks, and they sent me some pictures of things that were important to them. And yes, as Kasia said, money is important. We need it for a lot of things. You see Becky Choate down there with her $6,000 check for 1 month. You see Francine Rolling, she said, my Shaklee business paid for our daughter's wedding. There are people who had a big stack of debts, and being able to wipe those out. I looked up what Kari Heller was here over the weekend, and we were doing some strategizing. And she said, I would love to make enough money that I could help all of my kids wipe out their student loans. So I looked it up. The average student is looking at $38,000 in student loans. And they take usually at least 10 years to wipe that out. So it's good for us to really take time and think about this. What did you have on your list, Kasia? Anything on this slide here?
So on my list, I have my list even here. So I was like more what I want. It's just, I want to, not what I have, but what I want to accomplish more. It was like motivate people to live healthier lives, and also empower other women, to just, do the same, to just give them the motivation that they deserve the healthy, happy, full of energy life. And on my maybe money list, I would say pay off my mortgage faster.
Oh, good. So we ask people, when you think about this question, think of it in two parts. What would you like for yourself, and what do you want for others? And so, Kasia, that's exactly what you did. Well done. So that brings us to our guest speaker tonight, who is Kristen Jakubowski. And she is, her story is very powerful, and it really expresses the power of setting goals. So, Kristen, are you there? Kristen?
Hey, Barb, I'm here.
There she is. So please go ahead and share your story with us.
So look at that picture. Holy cow. I never get used to those pictures, right? Before Shaklee and then after Shaklee. But, there's a little bit of my background right there. We're not going to spend a lot of time there, but I am a therapist by trade. I came to Shaklee in that left picture there when I was in quite a bit of turmoil. I was having a lot of health issues. We had a lot of loss in our lives. And we were needing two basic things. And those two basic things were better health and money. And I know a lot of times we don't really want to talk about the money right away, but this was where I was at in life. That was the reality for us. It says their travel was only a dream. We didn't travel anywhere. We didn't have money to travel anywhere. So we had a newborn at home. We had a 4-year-old, and I had just lost my job. And I remember thinking, feeling very lost and very directionless. But I knew that I needed my health. And so when I started using some products like everybody else, right, you start to feel better and you start to do better because you feel better. But when I came into the business side of it, I really had no idea how to set goals. I taught other people how to set goals in their life, but I had never done it myself. I had never been encouraged to dream. And I remember when this started to gain a little bit of traction, my husband, John, saying, who was not on board at first, this is just until you get a part-time job. And here's what ended up happening. He's an analytic. He's a numbers guy. So we sat down, and what we sat down to do was right in front of you here. And we really thought okay, the CVS is down the street. What if I left from 4 to 9, did an evening shift? This would mean that John would be left with the little kids, which he really wasn't a fan of back then, right? I don't know anybody that loves to do that when they get home from a full day of work, but it was those realities, and then the comparison of what we could bring home from a side, leaving the house, a little side job, right? And what I could potentially bring home from staying at home and working directly with my upline, which is Harper Guerra, and making the equivalent money and being able to then just shoot for even more. And so we set a few goals around that. And I remember John saying that, I'd really like for each of your Shaklee paychecks to be a little more than the one before. And lo and behold, you guys, with a little bit of planning and a little bit of intentional work and these goals, that stuff started to happen. And when it really started to full steam ahead was after we went to Global Conference. Lesson number one, everybody, get to anything that Shaklee Corporate puts on. I don't care if it's a bonfire in someone's backyard, like we did with Pam a couple months ago. Get there, because that really does make the difference. And Shaklee taught us how to dream. They gave us the permission to put some really wild and crazy things on our list. And then what you do is you reverse engineer and you figure out what steps you're going to take in order to get to where you want to go and complete some of these goals. So when we first started, we really needed income. Like I said, we had a lot of debt. I came out of a lot of medical issues where we had a lot of debt. John really wanted to take summers off to take our kids around the country and travel. And so then we thought, well, wouldn't it be cool if we could do that in an RV, like a second home? And oh man, that was a pipe dream when we put it on paper. But, and then it was kind of some other typical things, right? The pay for things for our children, start college funds, retirement, things like that. But then what ended up happening is we started to earn things from Shaklee as we grew. And those were things that were never on our list before. Of course, travel was, but not 5-star travel with Shaklee. We had no idea what that was. And so we earned some trips. We developed a fantastic team that I still to this day, I'm in awe of the fact that these people, I get to work with these people every day. And we just kind of moved along. And now here we are 8 years later, and I can proudly say my stay-at-home career has replaced my income of when I was out of the house working tons of hours, very high-stress job. All of us have seen the effects of using Shaklee products, so we are all healthy and very thriving. The trips that we've taken, I mean, that could be a whole nother session, right, Barb? But the trips that we've taken have been something like we have never even dreamed. But what that's allowed us to do is go ahead and continue to put wild things like that on our list. That Machu Picchu trip, who puts that on their list and thinks, oh, I can get there? Nobody. But I encourage you to do it, because if we hadn't put it on that list, our brain would have never started working us toward earning that. And these bonuses that Shaklee puts in front of us, please don't ever cut yourself out of the realm of possibility of earning those, because I earned the 20K in 2020 last year, and it almost fell in front of me because of the plan that I had set up about 9 months before, and because I knew where I was going already. So then Barb says, what are your next goals? And I went, oh man, that's right. That is the only downside of reaching all of these goals, is that then you continually have to keep your game up, right? You have to have new goals. So John and I spoke, and a couple of these were ones I brought to the table, and some of them he brought to the table. But, I really want to focus more on my personal and professional development with Shaklee. We want to add to our college fund. And actually, I'm going to revamp that because Francine inspired me. We have 2 daughters, so we're going to need to start that wedding fund at some point. But we'd like to upgrade our RV. And John threw on there that he'd really like to take me to Europe. And I thought, okay, well, wouldn't that be cool to be able to do that? And then the most important thing is really just, like I said, this team that I have is outstanding. But when you get to the level that I'm at, the idea is to sprout a whole nother team, just like you're starting over. And that really goes back to just focusing on my original why, right? My 2013 why. And keep plugging away at the things that mean the most to me, which is just caring for other people. And Kasha, gosh, you just nailed it about caring for people and just moving along and helping others see what I see and do what I do.
Oh, this is such a great example. So thank you. What a perfect start, because this is exactly why tonight we're talking about goal setting, and to understand how that played such an important role for Kristen and John. I found a couple of quotes as we went along. Here's one: my goal is to build a life I don't need a vacation from. Boy, if that's what you haven't done, Kristen. And Jim Rohn, he also says the ultimate reason for setting goals is to entice us to become the person it takes to achieve them. It's what Kasha said. It's what is happening to Kristen. And it's what happens to all of us. So this is why goal setting is so effective and it's so important, because it begins to allow us to lay out a plan for our lives. And so in order to understand why they are so effective and why it is so important, we're going to want to understand one of the most fascinating things that I have learned since I've been involved in Shaklee, and that is how the mind works. And so several years ago, I think, didn't notice Elena maybe with us tonight too, a number of us, Pam and I and others, took a course from the Pacific Institute. And they taught us something I had never heard before. And they said, within our mind, there are 3 parts. We're all kind of aware of that conscious part, the things that we're aware of around us, if we're hot, if we're cold, if it's night, if it's day, whatever is around us, right? That's the conscious awareness stuff. And then there's that subconscious. It's the one that gets us into a lot of trouble because we store everything in there. And the stuff we store deep down in that subconscious tend to be those things that are most connected with a lot of emotion. And it would be nice if all of the things that are in there were associated with really happy, positive emotions. But unfortunately, what we have a tendency to do, in addition to those, is the ones that were really heavy, difficult, hard emotions, the ones that we keep replaying over and over again till they get really etched down into that subconscious. That's the subconscious. It stores the good stuff, it stores the bad stuff. But the part I never knew about, and this is the part we want to focus on tonight, is the part that they call the creative subconscious. And it turns out that we are equipped with this mechanism in our brains that is there to do problem solving. So guess what happens? When we set a goal, that becomes a problem for that creative subconscious to solve. So when we set a goal, goal and vision, it's that place we want to go, but it's not where we are. Where we are at the moment, where Kristen was in the beginning, was her current reality. She'd lost her job. She'd lost her dad. They had a lot of debt. They just bought a new house. They just had a new baby. That was the current reality. And someone then pops in and said, we're going to set a goal for things to be different. And as soon as we do that, we create tension inside our brains, because our brain sees that what our current reality is, but we start thinking about and visualizing the way things could be. And that creates a lot of tension. And tension is uncomfortable. Duh. And so the brain then has 2 options. It can either work toward that goal, reaching that goal, it will relieve the tension, moving up toward it. Or what sometimes happens is we don't like the goal, we don't like the tension, we decide maybe we really didn't want that goal after all, and we start pulling back away from it, and we go back to current reality where we have our comfort zone. And when that happens, our creative subconscious, which is very creative, starts creating some interesting ways of rationalizing. I I said we wanted an RV, but you know what? An RV is going to be a lot of trouble. I mean, I'm going to have to figure out a place to park it. And, I don't know. We probably really don't, want that after. Or, I said we wanted to travel, but you know what? I've been to Poughkeepsie, I mean, we've been someplace, I've been to, Kankakee, I've been some places, so we start rationalizing and we back off of the goal. And that, my friends, is why we often don't reach our goals, because the tension we can't handle and we give up on it. So here's an interesting little factoid. The more toward that dominant picture that's in our minds, the more we move toward that dominant picture, the more likely we are to reach it. And that's why affirmations and visualizing are so important. That's how we keep the goal in front of us and keep it alive. Now, there's one other interest, and we're going to talk about those in some detail. There's one other very interesting little surprising fact about the mind, and that is that we learned when we took that course, is they said to us, look, the mind can't tell the difference between what is real and what is vividly imagined when we set that goal and begin to visualize it. The mind can't distinguish the difference. It can only grasp the image that we're talking about, but it can't not think about something. So if we were to do a little exercise and I said to you, now close your eyes and don't think about the Eiffel Tower. Don't think about the Eiffel Tower. Don't think about it. Don't think about the Eiffel Tower. What do you see? The Eiffel Tower, right? Because we can't not think about something. Now, this has enormous implications when you think about how we raise children, how we coach athletes, how we talk to our business leaders and coach them, is we tend to talk in terms of don't do that. We don't want to tell an athlete, don't hit the ball that way. We don't want to tell, if we take our kids to, they're 3 years old and the babysitter at the last minute had to cancel and we have to take them to some adult event. We don't just tell them, now don't fidget and don't talk and don't make any noise and don't you two be messing with each other and don't, right? Rather than paint the picture of how we want them to behave. Now, when we go to this meeting, it's kind of a grown-up thing. So we're going to need to be very quiet. So we're bringing some books. And this is what I want you to do. I want you to sit really quietly, even when you turn, and you paint the picture of what you want. When you're coaching an athlete, you tell them what kind of behavior you do want. And I will have absolutely no examples to give you with this because I know nothing about athletics, but it's the same thing I know about business partners. And I know it's not about don't talk too much, don't be so shy, don't be so nervous, don't be so afraid to call people, don't do, it's not about don'ts. It's all about the behavior we do want. This was interesting. Pam's going to give you some more examples about self-talk and about coaching. So Pam, over to you.
Okay, well, this is one of my favorite parts of the training and it's so impactful. And when I took this course with Barb, it was 18 years ago because Sam is going to be 18 next week and he was just 3 months old. So almost 18 years ago, I took it at your house. It was a long, intensive weekend and they sent us home with a rubber band on our wrist. And they told us to snap the rubber band every time you say something negative or think something negative about yourself. And every time you say something sarcastic to another person. And I did a lot of snapping that weekend. And I came back 7 weeks later to talk about that. And so Here we are. I'll give you the Reader's Digest version of that long, intensive weekend, and you get it for free. So, good phrases to learn, as Barb says, that the messages we tell our brain is what we see and what we do and what we move toward. So instead of saying, I walk in the room, I always lose my keys. Oh my gosh, I always do that. I always lock myself out of the car. I can never, how many people tell you, I never remember anyone's names. I'm horrible at names. People say that all the time. What's her name again? I'm horrible at names. Well, if you keep telling yourself you're horrible at names, guess what? You're going to be horrible at names. So it's just like me when I like to talk. So I sometimes have a hard time listening. And I want to listen, as we learned last week, to hear and to acknowledge people and to identify their needs before I jump in with a solution. And I'm listening to help them empty their bucket, not just so I can get my turn to talk. But for me, it's just like me to listen to what people say before I jump in with a solution. It's just like me to not lose my keys. It's just like me to know everybody's name when I go to a public event. It's not like me to talk about people unkindly or to yell at my kids. It's not like me to make excuses for not showing up, right? Next time, I will be more careful. I will be more considerate. I will be more patient. Next time, I will call to let them know that I'm running late. And when I did this with my kids, when I came home, my kids were 3 to 8 at the time, the ones that were at home, 4 of them. I came home and I told them that stuff. And I remembered what I said about their backpacks and their messy bedrooms and their hair that I thought was a mess, that they thought they fixed up really nice with hair gel for me when I was gone all day. And I would take the opportunities to say, you know what, Ben, it's just like you to hang your backpack up when you come home from school, instead of saying, why you never hang your backpack up? Things like that translate over into our business. You never make your PV goals, or you don't have any events planned. When somebody plans an event, a new business builder, we want to say, it's just like you to get on that and plan that event right away. Good for you. And they're drawn to that behavior and they'll do more planning. So what we tell ourselves every day will either lift us up or take us down. And years later, my kids recently said, within the last month or two, they said, hey, Mom, remember when you used to tell us about that? It's like you, it's not like you. That was such a good thing you told us. And they still remember it today. So do you have another pop for me, Barb? Okay. So we want to be careful how we talk to ourselves, because guess what? There's one person who is always listening, and that's us. If no one else hears you muttering to yourself or giving messages into your head, you hear you, right? So we want to make sure those messages are always positive, so we're not sabotaging ourselves. Like a magnet, we draw in what we constantly think about. If you're always thinking positive, happy, joyful thoughts, you're going to be a positive, happy, joyful person, and you will attract other happy, upbeat, positive people. Just like Kasha said, how she's, bopping around this week with a new bounce in her step and a new upbeat hugs and smiles to strangers and holding the door. And what do you think is happening to her? The energy is changing and she's attracting those people. That's what this part's about. And a lot of that comes from affirmations and visualizations. I love this quote here. You have control over only 3 things in life: the thoughts you think, the images you visualize, and the actions you take. So there's where your power is. And my sister used to tell me when I'd say, I can't do this, she said, can't, never could do anything. So let's remember that we can do things. And affirmations are a really great way to help turn your mind around. Whenever I snapped the rubber band, I had to think about something differently. And I would write an affirmation down about that. If I was always losing my keys, I'd write down something on paper that said, it's easy for me to remember my keys every time I go out the door. And that was my affirmation to change my thinking. And the more you repeat those out loud every day, the better you get at it. And it imprints on your brain, just like what Barb said. Affirmations can be about something we want, like the new rank, the money, the car, the RV, the house, something we're trying to eliminate or work around, like not forgetting my keys or forgetting the names. Effective affirmations and visualizations are written, so we want to write them down. There's something neurologically about going from your brain through your arm to the pen on the paper, and write those down. Vividly imagined with all your senses. I know exactly what it's going to feel like when I make Master Coordinator in Shaklee. When I'm standing on the stage with a beautiful dress on, I'm going to hear the applause of 5,000 people. When Roger Barnett hands me a bouquet of roses, I know exactly what that's going to look like. I'm going to smell his cologne and I'm going to get that hug from him. And I'm going to be so proud on that stage. All the senses, how I feel, what I smell, what I see, what I hear, all those senses are written down in your affirmations with emotional words in present tense. Oh, I did that wrong. I said, I'm gonna, but you have write down, I'm on the stage. I smell the stuff. I hear the people and the applause and the music, and I receive the flowers, and they're all beautiful. Spoken or read repeatedly until we believe them. We are talking ourselves into our future. That's what we're doing. So we want to Google some affirmations if you don't know where to get started. I want to Google some. And I did that recently. Just go on Google, affirmations for business, affirmations for network marketers, for marriage, for health, for friendships, marriage, or affirmations for anything you want. And they'll give you a list of them. And I just took the markup thing and I just scratched out the ones that didn't speak to me. And then I have them on my phone. And in my morning time, I can read them every day. And they're really helpful. You can do a voice memo and record them and listen to them when you sleep, all getting into your brain. Your mind is powerful. So as we visualize the new, we become more dissatisfied and distant from the old. And that stimulates the drive and energy we need to achieve our goals. What else do you have?
One more there.
Oh, this principle is it. Whatever you look at the most, whatever you think about the most, whatever you speak or affirm the most wins. It's that simple. And you've heard me say, if you've worked with me at all, it's the 6 inches between your ears that will take you in or out of this business. And by George, that's a fact. All right. Let's go through a couple examples, if we could, about what may be present in your life. I don't want my friends to think that I'm calling just to sell them something. Anybody feel that way?
Yeah.
They have dollar signs in my eyes. When I call Mary Lou, right? We would write an affirmation that says, I am honest and authentic when I call my friends. I tell them I am calling about something Shaklee related, but first I ask them how they are. We share a wonderful conversation, and then we easily move to the topic of Shaklee. They always feel loved and respected. And you write that down and you read that before you make that phone call. And I guarantee you your phone call will go totally different. What about if you're running out of people to talk to and I don't know how to ask for referrals? Anybody think they talk to everyone they know about Shaklee already? Who else? There's nobody left. So I'd say people are happy to refer their friends to me. They know I have products that may help them and I will treat them with respect and care. And then you'll start getting referrals from people. What about a problem if I don't follow up with anyone? Anybody got a bunch of members that don't order? Maybe it has to do with your lack of follow-up. Following up with customers or business partners is the highest form of service I can offer. So we want to be at our very best all the time. Writing down affirmations, telling yourself as if it is true right now, even if it isn't, is critical to changing your mindset. Because look at that little goldfish. Mindset is everything. He thinks he's a shark.
Okay, so on our way to the goal, there may be some challenges and some obstacles and some interruptions. And so let's talk about that for a minute. There will always be stuff, right? Because stuff happens. There will be delays, there will be obstacles, there will be unexpected family events. There will be internal doubts that just spring up. There will be fears, etc. This is life, that's how it is. So how we navigate ourselves through these challenges will determine whether or not we reach our goal. Are we going to let them stop us or will we get stronger? There's that great song about what doesn't kill me makes me stronger. Oh, I love that. It's so true, right? When we are committed to reaching our goal, delays and difficulties do not derail us. And this is why when we write down our goals, and some people like them to be very visual with pictures and they create goal boards, whatever works for you, it needs to be in front of us. When every time that I have set a goal to reach for the next rank, I have a notebook next to my bed, and every night I read my goals. I would write down my things to do the next day. I would write down why it is important to me to advance in rank, to reach more people, to work for a trip, whatever it was. I reinforced it every single day before I went to bed. And then I closed my eyes and I let the creative subconscious just percolate all night long and work on it. The cool thing about the creative subconscious is once you tell it what the quote problem is, it works on that even when you're sleeping. It's so cool. So sometimes we have to adjust our timeline. Maybe we shift our strategy a bit. Maybe we get so far and we kind of plateau, and then we realize that simply means we've come to a place where it's time to learn some new skills. That's it. But the vision of reaching the goal and our belief that we can do it, that doesn't change, right? So we want to make a commitment to reaching our goal regardless of the circumstances that show up. I love that quote there. If it doesn't challenge us, it doesn't change us, right? Okay, right. Pam, let's talk about plans then.
Right. So we'll have long-term goals are important to make. And those may be 1 year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now. I know Kristen had some short-term and some long-term goals. What would you like your life to look like a year from now? 5 years from now? Put it down. Start thinking about it now. And what would you like your business to look like 1 year from now, 5 years from now? You have short-term goals also 90 days from now. And that's why the Shaklee Home Office does these quarterly incentives for us, because 90 days is just about comfortable for everybody. So how are we going to get from here to there? With working goals and a plan, right? We got to have those goals laid out, and we got to attach a plan, because as this big yellow circle says, a goal without a plan is just a wish. So we want to have a plan for developing a solid customer base and a plan for assembling our business teams. So let's get about making a plan. We have this in the back office. Shaklee has given us some really great resources. This is one of them. It's called the Vital Behaviors Tracker. This helps us for our daily work to stay in action as we move toward our goals. This is in the lower right-hand corner. You can see that this is available at shaklee.com in your back office under My Business, then Tools, and then the onboarding. There's a booklet there for onboarding. So if you've enrolled a new distributor any time recently, make sure they've gone through the onboarding process. There's several videos and stuff under the Learn tab of the Shaklee Share app. So you can look in there and get that stuff. But these are the starred areas. This tracker will help you set your goal at the top, enter in your names for star clubs. Did you earn a loyalty bonus? And what your goals are. So you want to schedule and host 3 pop-ups or 3 business meetings. You want to connect, invite, follow up, use and love Shaklee, don't we all? And then invest in some personal development, writing those affirmations, reading a book, listening to a podcast, things like that. And you don't have to do all of this. Want to have something similar like this to hold yourself accountable. Show it to your upline, or get an accountability group going with other leaders who resonate with you and have similar goals. But this is a great tool to start with. When you open up your folder, or when you finally have the child down for the nap, or the husband goes to work, or you have that, you're going to start working at noon today or 1 o'clock, whatever it is. Many of us pick up our phone and start scrolling on social media and trying, well, I should probably put something on my stories now, or I need to make a reel. How do I make a reel? I got to look at that. So I'm going to do that. Now we spent 30 minutes trying to figure out how to make a reel, let alone make one. And we haven't done any work. And our power hour was powerless. So we don't want to do that. We want to be ready to work. So I know the Kristen Jakubowski, her team, they live and die with the Vital Behaviors Tracker, and they follow this. And I've seen it at our house with it partially filled out on any given day. And I'm like, she does this for real. So this is a great tool for you. And it's going to help you to generate 1,000 PV. So you can go to the next slide, right, Barb? Because we want to drill down here to create some product bundles that will get us to 1,000 PV with just 10 people. We want to get very specific to see how we can generate this 1,000 PV anytime we want by using these product bundles. We might close a Prove It Challenge meeting or an event with somebody, or a one-on-one that we did following the Meology assessment, and offer the Prove It Challenge. That's a very good option because it's underwritten by the company. There's over $230 of value in that box for $159. And it includes that free shipping and free membership. So 10 of those people on the Prove It Challenge, and you have 1,000 PV. I have a new, relatively new distributor on my team. His name is Colton Hergich. I want to have him come and talk to us one of these days. And he's a social worker at a middle school. And he sent out an email after dropping some samples into the teacher's workroom. And he fired off an email and said, hey, some people have been asking about this. And I think we might want to do this together, and we can get Better by Thanksgiving, we'll be in great shape. And he's rolling along on week probably 2 or 3 of the Prove It Challenge. He sponsored 10 new members in a month. He made Star Club 3 times just by stepping out and having an event. And he's pretty darn new, you guys. And I don't know, but he had an extra 1,000 PV and it wasn't that difficult. So he got some awesome bonuses for that. And I'm really proud of him. So props to you, Colton. Another way to do this is if you have a health chat on Immunity, or you invite them to listen to one that's recorded at our Better Future, or Better Health in 31 Days health chats, have them listen to that. You can put those on your Zoom and just turn them on and rewatch them together with people. You don't have to give the health chat if you don't know how to do it. Just press play and let everybody watch it together. And at the close, you might have a collection of products here. Barb and I pulled together quickly some of the basics that we might need for immunity and have them in your medicine cabinet. 109.5 PV times 10. That's 1,095 PV. This is really good. And we just want to mention to you that we understand that everybody can't spend $150 initially, but when they do, that's a great benefit there, because for them, what's in it for them is where our focus is, not for us, but for them. And they get a $150 initial order. They get free membership, a lifetime membership. Instead of paying $19.95, they get that for free, and they get free shipping. And you get a star towards Star Club.
Nice.
So that's a really great,
it's a good plan.
Great plan to just think about that. So now we know why we're attracted to Shaklee, right? We talked about that last week. We got in touch with our why and why we want to love everyone in the world like Kasha does, and to develop a Shaklee business, and why we want to invite people to our events. We just want to help people feel better. We have our goals and what we want to accomplish, and we have some ideas for generating our first 1,000 PGV that I just mentioned on the last slide. So now we need to get down to the busy work of making 2 lists of names. The first list is going to be people we think would want to know about Shaklee products. Please don't prejudge anybody. Oh, I'm going to put Mark on the list. Nope, never mind Mark. He never has any money. I always have to buy his food, so he won't. None of this prejudgment. Nope, she has too many kids. Nope, they only have one job. Nope, nope, nope. Put these people on your list. Everybody, go through your Christmas list, your church list, your bunco list, your Bible study, your bowling league, your softball team, your whoever you're in with, your neighbors, people from high school, elementary school, college, sororities, everywhere. People who care about the environment, people who have health issues and might like to know how nutrition might help, who embrace the idea of prevention and wellness. Who are these people? Jot their names down. Invite everyone. Who appreciates companies like Shaklee? I know a lot of people who love to support small businesses. Their name's going to go on the list. And who appreciates the support and service from us? Who wants a friend? I'm in my 50s. I meet people who say, I'm just looking for some new friends. Perfect. I put them on my list. Who else should we put on our list? People we would like on our business team. People with good people skills. People who are fun to be with, who have a good work ethic. Who do you want to travel with? Put them on your list and earn some trips together. Boy, oh boy, you'll never regret that. Most importantly, people we like and would like as a business partner. In this business, we are always hiring, right? We need people like you. And the best bonus of the business here at Shaklee for us is that we get to choose who we work with. We don't have to offer the business to everybody. If you get assigned into cubicle 123 and you're next to cubicle 124 and you don't like who sits in cubicle 124, well, that's sort of tough luck, right? If you're sitting in an office, but you get to choose who works with you and who doesn't. So that is certainly a privilege. Our business partners will be more successful when we paint a picture of the behavior we want and not the behavior we don't want. Because remember what we said, what you think about, you bring about. So when we're coaching our distributors and our downline builders, we want to say something like, so Mary, in our conversations, we will want to ask questions of the people that you're speaking with. And we want to use the phrase, tell me about your headaches. And what are you doing for that now? And how's that working for you? And are there any side effects you have from that medication? You don't have to know everything, but just ask a whole bunch of questions, because you can't offer a result or a solution until you have somebody who has acknowledged their problem or their pain point. So we want to say that, we want to ask that question, tell me about, even in your families and in your marriage or your relationships with people you care about. When they bring you something, a problem or something, I say, I just practice that. Tell me about that. Tell me more about that. That makes me a better listener. Remember, that's one of my goals, is to listen better. So I ask people to please tell me about that. Are you looking for feedback, or did you just want to empty your bucket? That's all for relationships, because sometimes my kids just want to empty their bucket and they don't want me to tell them how to fix their stuff. They just want to unload. So we want to be a good friend and a good listener. We don't want to do, now, Mary.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, Barb.
Keep going. I'm sorry.
Now, Mary,
I bumped it.
don't make a sales pitch when you go in there and talk to that girl. You're meeting with the chiropractor. Don't talk too much. Don't talk too fast. And whatever you do, don't forget to leave time for the close. Don't. What is she going to do? She's going to be paralyzed. She's going to be scared to death.
Gotta leave time for the close. I'm not gonna leave right.
That's right. So we want to be mindful of our mindset. If you want to go to the next slide, Barb, we want to be mindful of our mindset. We're going to have a growth mindset or we're going to have a fixed mindset. And in the growth mindset, it's because I am eager to learn and I'm happy to have a go at it. But in a fixed mindset, I have that because I'm afraid of looking silly and getting things wrong. So I'm not going to even try, right? If we're in a growth mindset, we embrace challenges versus avoiding challenges. We keep going even when it's hard versus giving up easily when it's hard. Got to write those affirmations to make hard easy. We see effort as the journey to success instead of seeing effort as a waste of time. We learn from criticism in the growth mindset, and we ignore useful feedback. In the fixed mindset, that doesn't get us anywhere. If people think they got it all figured out, or if you think or we think we have it all figured out, we're not going to grow because there's no room for that. So we want to stay open in a growth mindset so we're inspired by the success of others. When we see others on our team or in our downlines or in cross organizations within Shaklee being successful, we need to be inspired and be happy for them. We don't want to be comparing or feeling threatened by other people's success because things aren't always as they seem. So we don't want to be making up stories in our head and keeping us in a fixed mindset. So be really aware again of the power of the 6 inches between your ears. I like to say I have a growth mindset because I persevere when I'm frustrated. I can always improve. Mistakes help me learn. I can learn anything that I want to. I like to challenge myself. I am inspired by people who succeed, and my effort and attitude make all the difference. Nothing else to say. That is it.
Oh, I love
Barb
it.
Lagoni, tell us what to do, please.
Bring it home. Okay. So, no surprise in our action steps. This week, we want to really get serious about writing down our goals. And you want to write down, think about if you could wave a magic wand and you could live anywhere and you could create your day any way you wanted it to look. A year from now, what would you want it to look like? 5 years from now, where do you want to be in your life? And where do you want to be in your business? Long-term goals. And then we got to figure out how to get from here to there. So in the next 90 days, what do we want to create? Where do we want to be? What rank do we want to have in the next 90 days? How many new people do we want to have invited to join us as members and as distributors? What kind of volume do we want in 90 days? What do we want to learn? What do we want to get better at? These are the goals that we want to put in. Remember, goals are about what do we want for us and what do we want for others, as Kasha shared. And then what do we want more of? You know, can be money, can be success and ranks and health, friendships. And what do we want less of? Like stress and anxiety and debts and unhealthy relationships. And so all that we give some thought to. So you want to sit down with a big notebook, start getting these things down on paper where your creative subconscious can see it every day. Then we want to create some affirmations and visualizations so we see ourselves reaching those goals. We see ourselves on the stage. I remember when Margaret Trost was aiming for director, and I remember we were supposed to be, our assignment was to write affirmations, and she would write down, she's supposed to write down, I am a 2000 PV, and then she's like, oh, this is ridiculous because I'm not, this is when she was like just starting, she might have been at 500 PV, and she's like, this is ridiculous. Oh, all right, I'll write it down. I am a 2000 PV director. And she kept writing it down until one day she started writing 2000 PV director, and she stopped and she crossed it out and she wrote 3000 PV director. Because she could see it, she got comfortable with it, she was reaching it just like Kristen did. And then it was time to set another. And one of the quotations that we found, and I was going to make an image of it, and we ran out. This was a really good one to write down. Our reach should exceed our grasp. So we want to stretch ourselves. We want to stretch beyond just what we think is possible, a little past that. Our reach should exceed our grasp.
And I used to say that, Barb, to help us to reach our goal. And we struggle to be at 2000. And how many of you are at 2001 and 2005, month after month after month? And you told me, make your goal 3000, start thinking about 3000, and you're going to soar over 2000, and you're going to do 2700 in spades. Easy, easy. So make your goals easier by stretching them bigger. That's great advice, Barb.
Last month, Kay and Richard Beers set a goal for 15,000 PV. And I went, whoa, that's a lot of PV. They had 12,000. They hadn't hit 12,000 in, I think, a year. It was amazing. I mean, the mind is just really very powerful. And I will tell you, when the things happen like Kristen laid out, she looks 8 years later at all the things were on that original goal list, and she had reached every one of them. I'm telling you, that gets spooky for me. It's like do, you know, because holy cow, right? And then we have to monitor our self-talk. Oh, the things I would say to myself. I didn't know. You know how last week we talked about speaking in terms of choose to, want to, like to, love to, right? I was always speaking to myself in terms of have tos. Oh, I have to do the laundry, and I have to get all that. I have to get to the store. I'm going to have to get. I mean, I talked to myself like everything was a have to and a burden and a, you know, and a chore and so on. And once we train ourselves to think in terms of, you know what, I want to set a goal this month that's going to stretch me. I'm going to set a goal for higher PV. I'm going to set a goal to sponsor not just 3 people and get that Star Club. Well, I'm going to set a goal to sponsor 6 people. Why not? And you know, self-talk, and when we screw up, and we will, and things won't go right, we got to watch what we say to ourselves then. Now that's not like me to have such a to go through a month and not have any events planned. That's not like me. That's not like me to have it be already the 9th of the month and I haven't posted a single thing in my Facebook page. You know, it's that remembering to talk to ourselves and saying, it's just like me, to go, you know, there's that great calendar on the front page, you know, of the landing page. There are so many excellent resources that Shaklee is giving us in the training areas and in the planning areas. They have a calendar that's on that. In fact, Ruth, if where is that on the landing page? I know you scroll down. Is it under events and
the social media calendar you're talking about, Barb?
Yeah. Anyway,
just go to the tools and search social media calendar.
It'll come up there. Yeah. It's on that landing page too. And it's excellent. And it just lays out the month for us. So use those resources. And that brings us to the Vital Behaviors Tracker. So everybody has a little different way of writing things down and making a plan and setting it up. I never tell people how to do that. Although next week we want to show you an interesting journal that Pam has started working with, but that's personal, but just have something. We want to have some working folder that it can be your day timer. It can be a manila folder that just has a calendar shoved in it with a notebook and that has people's names and a few bullet points of what you want to say to them and then what you want to invite them to. You know, it's we need some kind of working place, right? And so use that and set a goal to achieve Star Club, sponsor 3 new members every month with a $150 order. And and a distributor or two. We're going to be talking about that in a couple of weeks. We'll be doing a deep dive into that one. So let's see. I think I have a quote here. This is from Jim Rohn. He said, when we go to work on our goals go to work on us. And when we go to work on our plan goes to work on us, because whatever good things we build end up building us. I heard one of the master coordinators say one time, she was at talking to brand new directors, and she said, if I could sprinkle magic dust on all of you, and I could make you master coordinators just like that, she said, I wouldn't do it, because of who you become on the way to becoming a master coordinator. It's one of the best things I ever heard. So here we are at the end of our session. Did I have one more in here? Oh, the Lily Tomlin. So, they say goals should be really very specific, right? And she said, I always wanted to be somebody, but now I realize I should have been more specific. Mm-hmm. What kind of a somebody do you want to be? So I think that is a wrap for tonight. Anything else, Kristen, Pam?
Nothing really in the chat box.
Tasha,
people love it. People love you, Barb. We thank you for your time and your leadership always, and your willingness to share all the stories. Corporate gives us so much good stuff, and the home office does, but it's this stuff. To me, the home office puts the bricks down and we bring the mortar, and we spread that mortar amongst those bricks. And this is what's been missing for the last few years. We've really been devoid of training and anything like this. And that's why so many people are giving rave reviews, and we're happy to be here with all of you. And we are open for strategizing. Reach out. We all help each other. There's no boundaries here as far as who you can or cannot work with. And we're just excited for growth for everybody. So we want to thank you for giving us your time tonight. And we just wish you well this week. We'll see you next week with more fun stuff. I'm sure of it.
Next week, I can tell you.